Youth survey. So one of the key line findings from the survey that was released yesterday, most youth believe that democracy will never work, and they insist on stability instead. Now, the findings of the 14th annual Arab Youth Survey has finally been published. This covers the GCC, so Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi, the UAE, North Africa, Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia, and the Levant region. Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, Palestinian territories, Syria and Yemen. Now, this is one of the most important research pieces out of the Middle East and North Africa based on youth. So if you're one of the Arab Youth Surveys, they want to understand the attitudes and aspirations of over 200 million people, youth residing in this region. It's a really, really in-depth survey, and it really gives us an idea, and it helps kind of like marketers, it helps research for the years to come, and it's always really key insights.
So here's some of the key highlights on politics. The Arab Spring generation says promoting stability is more important than democracy. And then at 6, religion remains central to the personal identity of young Arabs, yet they want religious institutions to reform. And young Arabs are concerned about the quality of education, lack of jobs, and rising personal debt. And many are turning to entrepreneurship rather than depending on government or private sector jobs. So youth Arabs say the rising cost of living and unemployment are the biggest challenges that they are facing.
Some really interesting insights there. Also, no surprise, for the 11th year running, most young Arabs say that the UAE is the country they would most likely to live in. And they'd also like their nations to emulate. And, you know, these are some key findings, even shared by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, ruler of the UAE and ruler of Dubai yesterday. He'll always highlight the survey. And it's amazing that, you know, young Arabs internationally want to come here and want to call the UAE home. It only goes to show how kind of progressive and exciting a country that we live in. 2 more key insights. Youth spend more time on social media, struggle to disconnect. Online shopping is booming, and social media is the biggest source of news. Can't disagree there.
No cap, no cap, no cap. This study is, I think it's hitting all the right points. I think I agree with a majority of the key findings.
Yeah, and finally, young Arabs recorded their highest level of optimism in 3 years. And I love this. They say that their best years lie ahead.
Questionable.
I knew you were going to say that. No. How cool is that? Like to have young people who are optimistic. I love it.
That's amazing. Like, keep that optimism up, but with global warming and like recessions and
Simran,
stuff, like,
stop it.
I don't know.
Stop it.
No.
Stop it.
Let's not get there.
The majority of young Arabs in this survey, it's a mix of languages. Male to female ratio is 50-50. I don't have the full number of the number of people that were surveyed, but obviously it's quite a lot. So it's amazing. So they obviously, cost of living and finding jobs is a key challenge that they face, but yet they are at their highest level of optimism in 3 years, which I know Simran was going to jump into all of the scary things going on in the world today, which there are, and no one's blind to it. These guys are on social media. They're doing their shopping online too, which I don't know if I consider myself a youth, but I know online shopping is booming. Social media is their biggest source of news, which could mean to kind of, you're more, you know, the shock factor is there, but yet they're optimistic. Yeah. It's amazing.
You know what? One of the major points over here is them questioning democracy. And I myself sometimes find myself questioning democracy as well. Like, if you compare democratic countries to countries that are, more like, for example, the UAE or Saudi Arabia or let's say China, like the kind of governance it's very different in these countries, and somewhat they're under more control, and you don't see as much like protests and rioting, because when all these things break out, that's when the economy suffers. And I think maybe it's something that should be looked at, democracy.
Well, this is interesting because this is kind of what the survey was saying when they were talking about politics. The response from Arab youth was that the governments have implemented the right policies to address issues important to youth, and therefore you're seeing less kind of anti-government protests in places. And they say the Arab Spring generation says promoting stability is more important than democracy. So as long as the region is stable, that's what people care about. Yeah. Many of the youth believe that we said that democracy will never work. The GCC regions believe that the existing government has implemented the right policies. So the right policies that address the youth concerns, which were listed at and that they look at with these surveys, the key concerns have been addressed, and therefore as long as they're in a stable environment, they don't mind. They've seen they've seen what an unstable environment can bring to a country, and that's not what people want. So as long as there is stability, they're happy.
Exactly, and other points he said, like of politics and corruption and all of that. So people like this generation is aware, they are woke, they know what is going on, they know what kind of a change they want to see. So it's interesting that the survey actually highlights all of that. But we move on to our next story, which is quite